For thousands of years, the prevailing scientific view was that the universe was eternal, that it had always been here, that it was static and unchanging. During those thousands of years, the Bible stood in direct opposition to that idea, teaching instead that the universe actually had a beginning and that God was the thing that had existed eternally. Well, since the 1960s, the prevailing scientific view has been that the universe did indeed have a beginning, agreeing with what the Bible teaches. So, has God existed eternally, or has the universe been around forever? Or is there something else that's eternal? The ultimate question of what has existed eternally is discussed by Jeff Zweerink near the end of his book, Escaping the Beginning, published in 2019 by Reasons to Believe. The eternal brute reality, or Aristotle's unmoved mover, really comes down to three possibilities. Is it God? Is it the universe? Or is it some new eternal entity proposed recently by Lawrence Krauss and Stephen Hawking, the laws of physics? So first, is the universe eternal? Well, this is a popular choice for the brute reality based on the successes we've had finding purely natural explanations for different phenomena. Since at the beginning of the universe, inflation almost certainly happened, the universe is much larger than we can observe or probably even imagine. So if our current understanding of the mechanism for inflation is correct, then bubble universes exist. And the Big Bang marks the beginning of space, matter, and time in our universe only. Well, is it possible that inflation has been going on forever, creating bubble universes with ours being only one of many? According to Arizona State physicist Paul Davis in his book, The Goldilocks Enigma, for eternal inflation to be the reality, there has to be some sort of universe-generating mechanism which has to be exquisitely fine-tuned. The level of fine-tuning needed for this universe-generating mechanism requires an explanation. Also, the pre-inflationary patch of space, which eventually became our universe, had exceedingly low entropy. So what's the source of quantum and gravitation laws that govern the structure of space-time that then allows space-time to have this super low entropy bubble? The requirement of an explanation for the exquisite fine-tuning and the need for a source of the laws governing space-time that allow for patches of exceedingly low entropy make it reasonable that the brute reality not be the universe, but instead be something outside the universe, such as God, or maybe the laws of physics. So, are the laws of physics eternal? Well, Stephen Hawking and Lawrence Krauss both agree that the universe did actually have a beginning. But they also both agree that what is eternal is actually the laws of physics. Well, for Hawking and Krauss to be correct, these laws of physics then must exist outside of space and time and have to be eternal, and therefore they must be self-existent. The laws of physics have to exist independently of anything physical and have to be prescriptive, which means they must have the power to create. Well, on this view, our ability to think and reason also must have emerged from these laws of physics through some purely naturalistic process. The laws of physics then must be conscious in order to create other entities with consciousness. So a closer inspection of Hawking and Krauss shows that the laws of physics producing the universe have very similar attributes to those that Christianity ascribes to God. For the laws of physics to be the eternal brute reality, they have to be self-existent. They have to be causative, and they have to be conscious. If the laws of physics are the eternal entity, well, they sure sound a lot like the common description of God. Experience has also taught us that laws require a lawgiver. If the universe is governed by these laws of physics, then it's reasonable to conclude that those laws were prescribed by a mind, especially since the properties of those laws sure sound a lot like the biblical God. So, is God eternal? The God of the Bible has all the necessary attributes to explain the existence of the universe. The biblical description of the universe and its creation matches all the essential features of all the Big Bang models. It describes constant laws of physics, the expanding universe, increasing entropy, and of course, a beginning. Well, in support of this premise that God is the eternal entity, is modeling work done in an area of theoretical physics called causal dynamical triangulation. It was written about in Scientific American in July of 2008. Well, this work has demonstrated that causality is actually a necessary component of a stable four-dimensional universe. In other words, something beyond space and time encoded cause and effect into the very fabric of space-time. Many other areas of study, not only in science, that make the conclusion of God as the eternal entity the most reasonable conclusion, are that we find information actually embedded in life. We find that we're conscious and we're able to study and understand the universe. We find that mathematics is able to describe nature. In fact, this is a quote from Evolution News from December 11th, 2019. Mathematical physics indeed reveals deep structure in nature, and most remarkably, that structure is beautiful, full of unexpected simplicity and poetic coincidence. Antimatter is hidden in Dirac's relativistic wave equation, and oscillating bodies from galaxies to ocean waves to quarks are described quite elegantly by the simple calculus of oscillating springs. Einstein's metric tensor contains the Big Bang and black holes and an enormous but finite universe curved back in on itself. None of this splendor and precision is inevitable, any more than a Shakespearean sonnet or the Sistine ceiling are inevitable. The mathematical subtlety of physics is the work of a living mind of inexpressible grace and power. We trust in our minds to think rationally and make reasonable conclusions. We have a sense that objective moral laws and duties actually exist. So all this evidence from math, from philosophy, from history, from archaeology, from biblical textual criticism, all of that evidence also gives support to the reasonable conclusion that the God of the Bible is the brute reality, and the God of the Bible has existed eternally.